how to integrate Agile Scrum into traditional project management or even with critical chain project management. It's part of a bigger question of how to better complete projects successfully and how to better earn trust from your clients and sponsors, how to get into control and stay in control. Welcome to the LYNX journey of the Scrum Project Manager, and my name is Jan van Egmond. In this video you're gonna learn how to make a real work package within your project planning. We're gonna set up a Scrum board and story card for an Agile Scrum work package. The updates of the user stories are real-time processed and made visible in your project planning. And you see the progress of the user stories is also aggregated to the progress chart on the portfolio level. So there is a full integration from the strategy of your organization to the day-to-day activities in the work packages of the projects. But let's get started first. It's only after working on this training I realized how much time in a classroom training is wasted on worthless and non-valuable content. And when it is packed with lots of information, how little you remember after a day. And whether it's valuable or not, and whether you remember it or not, you've got to pay for it. This video covers the same content as a full day class training, in just half an hour. It saves you a lot of time, and because you don't pay for what I don't say, it saves you also a lot of money. And you can replay it as often as you like, so you can absorb all the information. When you go through this training for the first time, it can be overwhelming. So start with watching the full video all at once, and then immediately replay it, scroll back, pause, make notes, and then replay it as often as you like. Whenever you like, wherever you like. I took care that also watching it on your mobile will give you a great learning experience. We start with a deep dive. Just let you fully immerse in LYNX Tameflow. In the end I will share with you the theory, the backgrounds and the considerations. Imagine, we are a space agency and eager to be the supplier of a Mars robot. The challenge is to combine existing technologies with artificial intelligence, so a robot can operate autonomously in the distant and hostile environment of Mars, out of reach of our specialists and communication with the Earth. It's obvious, it's a multidisciplinary project, and many of the technologies we use, well, they are actually off the shelf. And we choose for that a traditional waterfall planning. We mark that purple in the work breakdown structure. And we have software development going on, which is much less clear. And so for that we choose an iterative approach, Agile Scrum, and that's blue in the work breakdown structure. Let's see how that works out in LYNX. On the left you see the task window, you see the work breakdown structure of a Mars robot. In the middle you see the Gantt chart. You see the red tasks? They are the critical path. The side window on the right is a source of information and we're going to use it a couple of times. When we start the project today, the project is expected to finish February 21st. And the duration of the project is 35 days. And we also frequently use the task property windows at the bottom of the screen. All people in projects add reserves to their tasks, to their estimates, to protect themselves. It's like drivers who keep distance in the highway without thinking to avoid accidents. People in projects add reserves to avoid they can't keep their promise. And with critical chain we take a part of the reserves and put them together at the end of the project in the project buffer. The shorter task time duration doesn't imply that the task will be executed in less time. We simply don't know. And that is exactly the reason why we shorten the task time duration anyway. We add the reserves, the buffer, to the end of the project by inserting the buffers by using the CCPM keys. Now I've added the reserves to the end of the project as an insurance for all tasks. People can make use of it when they need more time to complete their task, and when they don't need it, others might benefit from it. The duration of the project is shorter, but we have now a buffer of 12 days. And we add that to the calculated finish date. You see that the duration is the same as before. There is a difference of half a day, and that's because of rounding issues with the 33% task time reduction. Don't worry about that. Yeah, you also see the feeding buffers. And feeding buffers protect the critical chain for delays with tasks that are not part of the critical chain itself. Now we're gonna set up a couple of things for Agile Scrum. Agile Scrum works with cards and a Scrum board, or a magic wall as we call it. And we need to set it up. And the first step is to define the fields. We first define the status field. This will also define the columns of the magic wall. Insert new values by using the plus sign or by pressing the arrow down key on your keyboard. Check the to-do tick box, and now to-do is the default status when you create cards manually. Description can be used to describe the user story. An estimate is a number, select the data type for that. The symbol is hours. You can use anything you like. Story points, square meters, drawings, anything you like. Estimate does have a conversion for the team. Our team of 4 engineers thinks they can process 140 hours a week on average. LYNX will use it to calculate the duration of the task and to calculate the size of the project buffer. Use the work package tag when you have teams working on multiple work packages and just one backlog. Card type is stories. Determine what will show up on the card. For different workflows you can define different card types. We just use stories. We specify the fields that we use for the cards, and that is what you have to fill out. And what will be visible on the board. The show sum is needed for calculations. Tick that for estimate. In the burn down rate tab you define how to calculate the card size. Also estimate. Now we're gonna create the cards themselves. Go to the cards view. You see there's always a backlog. We haven't defined the work packages yet, so you can't see them. Nevertheless, we can go ahead creating the cards. We can do this manually. And we can import cards from Excel. It is super simple. Copy paste from Excel. Create cards. Now we're going to set up the work package communication and mobility. Change the task type from normal to work package. Set the unit of measure to estimate. Now we have changed the work package. LYNX doesn't know anymore how long the tasks need to take. So we changed that back to 2 weeks, 280 hours, instead of just 2 weeks of work, 80 hours. The duration is 10 days, of which a third is used for the project buffer. That leaves 6.7 days. Now the only thing left is to add a team to the work package. And LYNX models teams in the same way as it models skills. Teams are skills with a specific characteristic. For multi-project resource leveling, the default option is to resolve conflicts within projects only. Define the skill as a team. The number of teams is just 1. Calendar is standard. And base output on the estimate field. Define the productivity and conversion for the team, 140 hours a week. Add resources to the team we have created. You recognize it, we only have stars in our team. Now assign the team by dragging and dropping to the work package. Take a close look at what happens right now. You will see an important function and benefit of LYNX Tameflow. It automatically reschedules the project based on the availability of people. The color of the task changes from blue to red, indicating that the task is now part of the critical chain. Any delay in the critical chain will have immediate impact on the delivery date of your project. In fact, it is so obvious, but most planning software project managers are using for planning their projects simply don't provide this power functional and essential functionality. It is a great feature of LYNX. Here is where we confirm the team members. Some final checks and statistics before we release the project. The final delivery date is March 3rd, and that is 2 weeks later. And the reason is that we have now the work packages in the critical chain. We have just one software team and they can't work on 2 work packages simultaneously. So the project will take more time. We set the project start date and end date to January the 4th and to March the 4th. And that will define the project time window. The dark blue zone is what you must avoid. It is the zone of trouble, problems and discussions with your stakeholders. Just stay out of it. Back to the project properties to release the project. In a multi-project environment you will always use the release wizard. It's the release wizard that helps you to determine the most optimal moment for releasing your project. We set the first task to start it. For this demo there are a few things we will do, but you probably won't do in real life. For a progress chart, we need to set tags. When you use LYNX for real projects, then it's done automatically. And we'll change the date a couple of times to fast forward. I just show it once, but it is in there a couple of times. Progress is reported based on the estimated time to complete. Right now, just 2 days to go for the global design. And also this I will show only once. Normally this update will be done by your people themselves in their My Activity tab. And as a project manager you get the updates automatically. Now you'll be introduced to one of the strongest existing project management dashboards. And it's the progress chart, or also known as the fever chart. The 3 colors you see here, red, yellow and green, that's just the background and that will not change over time. The horizontal axis gives the progress of the project as a percentage of the total project duration, the longest chain. Normally projects progress from left to right. You will see an exception in a minute. The vertical axis gives the status of the project as a percentage of the project buffer consumed. The explanation might be complex, but you get a couple of examples. And you may forget it as long as you remember that red is the time to intervene, to come into action. And green means leave your team alone. They are in control. Now let's assume there is no progress made by Keith Richards on Friday. See, the end date of the project moved to February 20th, while the project buffer stays in place. 30% of the project buffer is eaten. In the progress chart you see the buffer consumption is 30%, while the line goes straight up. That means that there is no progress. Now the progress is very high, and you see that the line dives far into the green, making more progress and making project buffers free. Before we start the communication work package, we must add cards to the work package. And we do that in the cards view. We can have up to 280 hours of work and simply drag and drop from the backlog into the communication work package and fill it up to 280 hours. Set the work package to start it and log on to the Tameflow client as Roger Waters. You have two options, either via the taskbar on the computer or via the desktop window in the file menu. Now we make an update on the progress of the work package. This is really simple. Just drag and drop the cards from left to right. We took the decision that our project manager will close the cards after the Friday Scrum meeting with the product owner. We close the cards manually every Friday. Now you go to the progress chart to see the most recent status update. As no cards are closed on Wednesday, LYNX doesn't report progress. The line goes straight up. And when the cards are closed on Friday, the line dives down into the green again. This Wednesday it became clear that our project needs more functionality. So we move more cards from the backlog in the communication work package. The packet size has gone up from 280 to 304. It's red, there is a signal on the task line, so this all isn't a good sign. The team continues to progress as usual. Then our Friday routine to close the cards after the Scrum demo. In the cards tracking view you see the graph of the progress of the work package. And the gap is getting smaller and smaller. This is an interesting progress chart. You see the line is going up and backwards. That's caused by adding more work to the work package. The duration of the project is longer, so the percentage completed goes down. That is the reason we go from right to left. We go up because more buffer is needed due to the additional work. And we are in the red. If we continue to make progress like this, the project will be late. Immediate action is needed, right now. Now you have seen how to integrate Agile Scrum with your traditional planning and even with critical chain in LYNX Tameflow. I'll summarize the steps for you in a minute and I'll share some considerations. But why is it important to integrate Agile Scrum with traditional project management in the first place? We live in different worlds. Some of us still live in the traditional world and haven't changed yet, might never change. Regardless whether that is good or bad, if others move forward, they need to continue to collaborate, and their way of working needs some kind of integration. And that typically applies to multidisciplinary projects. And in certain situations, traditional project management is just better than agile. And it has all to do with levels of uncertainty. When you have a good enough idea of how to do the project, when you have done similar projects before and can reuse materials, designs, processes, templates, work breakdown structures, plannings, when the majority of the design and engineering is done in an early project stage, when the execution stage is much more expensive and sensitive for risks, then waterfall is fine, and often it works better. You simply can't deploy easily a sprint to Mars. PMBoK, IPMA, product-based planning from Prince2, they are just good. But when figuring out what to do and how to do it is the project, then approaches like Agile Scrum works better. And this typically applies to software development. Sometimes clients even don't know what they want. They say, well, I know it when I see it. Till the end, software development is about figuring out how to make the computer do what you want it to do and to describe it in the software programs so the computer also knows. But you can also think about research projects, consultancy, engineering, and often the problems to be resolved aren't known up front. Agile Scrum is all about making small steps, getting feedback frequently, adjust accordingly and move forward. Sometimes we deal with a very low level of uncertainty in our projects. When we deal with production work, with many similar routine tasks and repetition, making use of the same architectures, the same designs, well, think about staircases, prefab rooftops, walls in construction, or you might think about IT office migrations where many workplaces need to be migrated to a new platform, or an engineering project where many similar drawings and documents need to be created. And then Kanban is an excellent method to manage the work streams. Is one better than the other? The answer is no. Each has its purpose and application, and in multidisciplinary projects you have no other option than to integrate to get best of both worlds. Let's summarize what you have learned on how to integrate Agile Scrum into your planning. And it starts with a traditional planning. You know, scope definition, work breakdown structure, estimates, schedules. And there are several excellent schemes to create such a planning. And you can follow the LYNX journey of the project planning. And it is completely in line with the PMBoK, IPMA, product-based planning of Prince2. And then you configure how you want to have the cards and the board, the fields you want to have on it, how to measure the work, how to do estimates, and the columns on the board, etc., etc. The next step is to create the cards. And you can do it either yourself manually or import from Excel, or you can even leave it up to the team of specialists to create the cards in the Tameflow client. Next, you put the cards you've created into the work package, you set the size of the work package, and then LYNX can determine the duration and the buffers. Then you assign your team to the work package, you release your project, set the status of the work package to start it, and then your engineers can use the magic wall in the Tameflow client for their Scrum process, for their sprints, for the user stories. It's very easy for them, and it is fully integrated with your planning. LYNX even offers an integration with Jira, and that is one of the mostly used Scrum development tools. So LYNX gives a seamless integration between the world of software engineering and your project planning. You might wonder why you haven't seen any sprints in the planning, and there is a very good reason for that. One of the planning principles of Empower Your Project is to leave out what doesn't contribute to you to better completing projects successfully and to better earning trust from your clients and sponsors. And it means that you have to leave out what is obvious for the people involved and what is considered to be a standard practice. And the uses of sprints and having a sprint planning is a standard practice for any Scrum team, and there's absolutely no need to redo that in your project planning. And you've seen that with the cards tracking view and with the progress chart, you have great tools to keep track of the progress of the work package and to know when you have to intervene and when you have to leave your team alone. I like to make a couple of remarks about critical chain project management. Critical chain is, with Agile Scrum, one of the most valuable contributions to project management of the past decades to make projects more reliable. Critical chain is like Lean or like Kanban. It's a method to optimize workflows. And where Lean and Kanban typically applies to production work with many repetitive tasks, similar tasks, critical chain is for unique projects with very many different tasks, with a high level of uncertainty, like all projects, and it will only be performed just once. LYNX provides a solution to absorb these uncertainties, resulting in much smoother and much more reliable work streams and more predictable projects. You have seen 3 remarkable features of critical chain. And the first one is critical chain, planning with the availability of people in mind. And it sounds so logic, but most planning software used by most organizations doesn't provide this functionality. The second feature is the progress chart or the fever chart, and it is one of the most powerful dashboards in project management and also in portfolio management. It tells you exactly when the delivery is at risk and when you have to leave your team alone because they are in control. And it is all standard functionality of LYNX Tameflow. And the third feature you have seen is buffer management. It's like drivers who keep distance on the highway to avoid collisions. Project resources include reserves to avoid breaking promises. And it is so much part of the system, we are often not even aware of it. But it works better to share some of these reserves for people who need more time. And when they don't need it, well, others might benefit from it. Some people find critical chain project management overwhelming, very complex. Some even get upset about it. But you don't need to worry about it as a project manager. With LYNX Tameflow, you have it all under control, and LYNX Tameflow makes it easy for you, so you and your team can focus on getting your job done. What next? With integrating Agile Scrum into your project planning and by choosing for LYNX Tameflow, you have laid the foundation for a great opportunity. Also, Scrum teams have shortcomings. And if you're able to fix it, you're at the doorstep of a major breakthrough in many ways. The workflow in Scrum teams is subject to exactly the same dynamics of other workflows, with the same kind of problems. Also, Scrum teams are sensitive for unstable workflows. Run and stop. But it is invisible for several reasons. And one of them is that the flow of work is not dependent on whether members are busy or not. A workflow can completely come to an halt when people are busy, and a workflow can speed up when members are idle. Isn't it strange? Well, generally speaking, most organizations are not aware of it. They don't pay attention to it or simply don't have a solution. The impact, however, is huge. And as long as you haven't implemented LYNX Tameflow yet, it is hardly impossible to imagine how much of the efforts in projects and in Scrum teams are lost due to unstable workflows. With using LYNX Tameflow, you offer your team valuable insights in their workflow, bottlenecks, hiccups. You give them simple tools to create a steady work stream, giving them the information they need to eliminate their impediments. It gives you the tools to see and understand when you need to leave your team alone and to let them do the work because they are in control, and when you have to intervene to protect your planning and commitments. So you better complete your project successfully and better earn trust from your clients and sponsors. And this is exactly what users of LYNX Tameflow did to improve their performance dramatically. And I'd like to give an example of Hauser. Hauser is a German international operating high-tech company with over 300 highly technical people, and they achieved the hyper-productive status by implementing LYNX Tameflow. They integrated Agile Scrum, Kanban with critical chain project management and traditional project management and boosted their performance. In just 2 years, they tripled, almost quadrupled their productivity and dramatically improved their reliability. You might think it is too good to be true, or it sounds too complicated. but it isn't with LYNX Tameflow. Thanks for watching.